Greetings, YouTube. The other day I saw a news blurb on television just before they cut to a commercial. The kind of thing that's supposed to get you interested enough so that you'll stick around to the end of the commercials. And it was talking about a news piece about parents upset at the literacy levels of their children. And the fact that these parents would like their children to be sent to a charter school. And I guess they were putting their kids into some kind of lottery because there were limited spaces at the school. Now, I've never been a fan of the idea of taking children out of public schools and putting them into private schools or charter schools as a means of improving the educational system. Because taking the children and their funding out of public schools isn't going to help the public school system. In fact, I would say it would be the opposite of help. The public school system needs our help, and taking children away from it is not going to help it. But I think there's a bigger issue here. To me, it seems that these parents were really placing the responsibility of their children's literacy on the shoulders of the school and the teachers that instruct their students. And while the school is important to this process, the literacy of their students, of these kids, isn't up to the school. It's up to the parents. Because the parents spend far more time with these kids than teachers do, and the ratio of number of students to parent is much lower than the ratio of number of students to teacher. Now, I'm not a particularly bright fellow, but I could read by the time I was 5. And this wasn't because of school. This was because my parents taught me to read. Now, I did have a slight advantage because back in 1969, my mother was a stay-at-home mom. Now, this was the norm in '69. Many women didn't work. And my mother didn't work until many years later, until my sister was in school, and then she finally got a job. Part-time, then eventually full-time. So I guess I had that slight advantage. I also had the advantage that my father was a reader, and I saw him reading every day. He still is a reader in his 70s. But I wasn't the brightest bulb in the pack, and I'm still not. But I could read by 5 because my parents put the effort in to make sure that I could read by the time I was 5. Now, some people will say that parents have limited resources, but you can find books at public libraries and school libraries. If you live in an area that doesn't have a public library or a school library, you have my deepest sympathies. But the town I live in, and it's not a big town, I think there's 120,000 people here, there are 4 thrift stores that I know of that sell used books. That sell for the range of 50 cents to $1 a piece. And these cover an age range of preschool books up through college textbooks. Now, they are hit or miss. They're used books. You're not necessarily going to find everything under the sun. But I actually find that as part of the fun. I like looking for the gems amongst the pebbles. I also have a chain of grocery stores in my area, and there are 4 of them, I think, in my area, that sell donated books to raise money for charity, and they sell those for $1 a piece. In addition, there are yard sales and flea markets everywhere, and I find books there for anywhere between $0.25 and $1. And I buy books at all of these places. I very rarely ever pay more than $3 for a nonfiction book. The only books I pay more than that for are role-playing books. I'm a cheap bastard. I don't like to spend money if I don't have to. This means I do end up stockpiling books because you got to buy them when you find them. And I have my to-read pile at the moment, which is probably around 300 books waiting for me to read. If I stopped buying books today, I'd be reading them until I was in my 60s. But I'm not going to stop buying books. But parents, if they were to invest somewhere between $10 and $20, would have enough books to teach any child how to read. And then they could keep them around for the next child, or donate them, pass them on to other people who could not afford books easily, so that they could teach their child to read. But the parent can ensure that their child is literate. It is not up to the school system. They're there to help the process. They're not there to do the labor of the parents. Now, I work with many people who have children, and I work with people who are raising children in households that have no books. Not a few books, but no books at all. And I can't fathom how that's possible. I mean, you can see behind me there are bookshelves. There are 23 bookshelves in my home. 22 of them are full. I love books. I have enough books in my house right now that I could educate someone from K through 12 with just what I have here. I don't know if I would be very good at it, mind you. I'm not a particularly decent teacher, but the book resources are available. I really think we need to change the focus. Instead of depending on the school to teach our kids to read, we should be paying attention to the one resource that every kid on the planet, except very rarely, has already. And that's the parents.